For a moment it felt big. Internal documents, serious headlines, public outrage, and then nothing happened. No shutdown, no reset, no real consequences. This is how the Facebook files went quiet. This video isn't about rumors or accusations. It's about attention, how transparency briefly appeared, and why it disappeared just as fast. So what even were the Facebook files? It wasn't some single scandalous document. It was a massive collection of internal research papers, slide decks, and memos. We're talking about reports on user engagement, platform safety, and the real-world impact of their algorithms. This was information Facebook already had about its own ecosystem, but the public didn't. These files gave us a rare look behind the curtain, showing exactly what the company knew about its own strengths and weaknesses. It wasn't a leak of user data, it was a leak of self-awareness. And that's why the story absolutely exploded. The revelations mattered because they confirmed something many users already felt in their gut. That engagement was often prioritized over a positive user experience. That the platform's relentless pursuit of growth sometimes came at the cost of control and safety. For a brief, intense moment, everyone was paying attention. The headlines were everywhere. The discussions were heated, and it felt like a real turning point might be coming. It wasn't just another tech story, it felt personal. But here's the problem. Outrage burns hot, but it also burns fast. And that's where the real story begins. Think about how the news cycle works. It thrives on what's new, what's breaking, what's happening right now. It doesn't do a great job covering what's unresolved. Once the initial bombshell of the Facebook files dropped, the flow of new information started to slow down. There were follow-ups and deep dives, but the big, headline-grabbing revelations were mostly front-loaded. As the updates dwindled, the media's attention naturally shifted to the next big thing, a new political drama, a different global event, another celebrity story. The news calendar just kept flipping forward, and even though the core issues with the platform hadn't been fixed, the story was pushed further and further down the page, until it disappeared entirely. So, how did Facebook survive it all? The simplest answer is, the system never stopped. The platform didn't shut down for a day. The vast majority of users didn't delete their accounts and leave for good. Advertisers kept pouring money into the system because it was still delivering results. Life, for the platform and for most of its users, just went on as normal. When the fundamental behaviors of a system, logging on, scrolling, liking, sharing, and buying ads, don't change, there's very little incentive for the platform itself to make drastic changes. The outrage was loud, but for the business, it was just noise that eventually faded away. This brings us to a critical distinction, the difference between access and impact. Getting access to information, like the Facebook files, feels like a huge victory for transparency. And it is. But information alone doesn't create change. Pressure does. And sustained pressure requires sustained attention. When the public's and the media's attention moved on, the pressure on the company to act dissipated. The momentary accountability that comes from being under a global microscope just vanished. It proves that simply knowing a problem exists isn't enough to solve it. This is how stories like this truly die. The Facebook files weren't disproven. The documents weren't suddenly declared fake. They were simply outpaced by time, by the endless flood of new distractions, and by the relentless hunger for the next headline. It's a quiet kind of shutdown. The documents and their revelations are still there, but they've been pushed into the shadows. The lights that were shining so brightly on the issue have been dimmed and pointed elsewhere. It's a death by obscurity, not by invalidation. And if you look closely, you'll see this is a pattern that keeps happening. Think about other major corporate or political scandals from the past. A huge story breaks, there's a period of intense scrutiny, and then it just sort of fades away. Complex ongoing problems don't fit neatly into a fast-paced media environment. They don't have a clear beginning, middle, and end. So instead of reaching a resolution, they just lose momentum. Fading from the public consciousness is often the most effective defense a powerful entity has. No need to fight the story when you can just wait it out. Ultimately, the Facebook files didn't fail because they didn't matter. They failed to stay visible. And in a digital world built on constant novelty and the next shiny object, visibility is everything. The story wasn't resolved, it just became quiet. But quiet doesn't mean fixed. The issues raised in those documents are likely just as relevant today as they were then. They just aren't being talked about. Which leaves us with a big question. Should stories like this ever be allowed to quietly disappear? Is it our collective responsibility to keep the pressure on? Or is this cycle of outrage and amnesia just an unavoidable feature of our modern information landscape? Is silence the most powerful defense a system has? If you believe transparency is important and these conversations need to continue, leave a like to help more people see this video. Let me know what you think in the comments and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. Thanks for watching.